Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachad Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And as you can see in the title, it's about to go down. All right, it's about to go down. And I titled that because I was reading something in this article here, which basically indicated to that where what we've been talking about concerning the the upcoming economic collapse and the transition, the Great Reset from the system that it is now onto the new digital system is about to go down very soon. Reason being, the when you look at the position that the Fed is in right now, they're trapped in between whatever they call a rock and a hard place. Okay. And so I'm going to come down to this portion, this part of the article where it mentions it here. And basically, I'm going to read here and show you why it is that it's about to go down. They're basically forced now to make a move. All right. And that move is going to have to come through a reset. Okay. Now, I had a couple of precepts, the Spirit had me. I was going to go into another kind of lesson more on judgment, but, the Spirit just as I was going through these various different articles, it just had me land here, so whatever precepts the Spirit hits me with, that's what I'll go with. So now it says here, raising. So now this is talking about, let's see, let's go up a bit. It says the Fed has a serious problem this time. The amount of federal debt is so extreme that even a return of interest rates to their historical average would mean paying an interest expense that would consume more than half of tax revenues. Interest expense would eclipse Social Security and defense spending and become the largest item on the federal budget. Further, with price increases soaring to 40-year highs, a return to the historical average interest rate will not be enough to rein in inflation, not even close. A drastic rise in interest rates is needed, perhaps to 10% or higher. That is extremely high. But now here's the problem. If that happened, it would mean that the US government is paying more for interest expense than it takes in from taxes. In short, the Federal Reserve is trapped. Raising interest rates high enough to dent inflation would bankrupt the US government. Okay? So they're at a point now where either way you cut it, you are screwed. If you raise interest rates, you're going to need to raise interest rates to a very high level in order to, like they said, put a dent in inflation. If you do that, you're going to bankrupt the US government. If you say, well, we cannot afford to bankrupt the US government, so we're not going to raise interest rates to that level, you're not going to be able to control inflation. And what happens with unchecked inflation? It becomes hyperinflation. And we all know what hyperinflation does to economies, right? It turns countries into third world countries, and it turns them from there into just chaos. So they're trapped right now in between these two, and they don't have time because inflation is not waiting for them to make a decision. Inflation is going up. Biden comes out and tells you, we have zero inflation. The gas prices started going down. People started thinking, oh, yeah, look, the numbers are cooling off. No. All right. Now it gets even better or worse. It says we can see this dynamic in the below chart of the federal debt and the federal funds rate. The Federal Reserve's primary benchmark interest rate. It says the higher the federal debt, the harder and more painful it becomes to raise interest rates. I cannot explain to you this chart because I do not quite understand fully what, I haven't really read into that part. But the main part I want to focus on is right here. It says, in short, the US government is fast approaching the financial endgame. It needs to raise interest rates to combat out of control inflation, but can't because it would cause its bankruptcy. So you see where they're trapped? In other words, it's game over. They have no choice but to reset the system. That's what governments do when they are trapped. All right? I'm going to read that part again. In short, the US government is fast approaching the financial endgame. They're pretty much at a point where they can't make a decision, and all they can do is drag it out as long as they can until they hit the end of the road, which is coming up very soon. And at that point, you're like it says, they're gonna have to hit the reset button. So it says here, it needs to raise interest rates to combat out of control inflation, but can't because it would cause its bankruptcy. In other words, it's game over. They would have no choice but to reset the system. That's what governments do when they are trapped. So what does that tell us? That tells us that something is about to go down because they're trapped in between these two. And we already know that we are in the process of this great reset. Well, what are they resetting? Well, when you look up the word reset, let's type that in, reset definition. It says here, set again or differently, right? When you reset something, re means again, and set is to set. So you're setting it again or you're setting it differently. What are they resetting? What are they setting? What are they setting again? This whole world, this world order, this economic system, all of this. Okay. Now you don't just reset something if you don't have to. You reset it if there's need for change. Now, their desire for change, the average individual does not share the same desire. So the only way that they can get the average individual to share the same desire is by making that desire not a desire anymore, but a necessity. So now you feel like you need to accept this change. You need a reset. Then that's a different outlook. People do things that they need to, and not always because they want to, but because they have to. All right? People don't do things that they don't want to if they have the choice. But once that thing that they want to do or they don't want to do becomes something they have to do, then that's a different story. So that's what they're doing. They're turning this into something that you're going to have to go through. Now it says, think of it like this. Imagine a spoiled child playing a board game. Rather than admit he is losing, he flips the board. This is what governments will do now that they are financially checkmated. And I forgot what video. I think it was a video that was put up by the brother Yashalom. And in the video, there was an individual speaking about basically the point of this. They have the slogan, what was it? No one left behind, something along those lines. And I believe that's the either the World Economic Forum or the United Nations slogan. And he was going into how they're transitioning, into this digital world to have total control of monitoring everything, every transaction, everything they want to know. They want to be omniscient. And so that's what they're trying to do with these digital, tracking devices, all of these things. They want to have records on everything. Okay. And he mentioned that these governments, they're all going to go like that. Suddenly it's just going to go boom, 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 boom. Because they want to level the playing field, and then they're all going to have to reset. So when they reset, they can reset together. Okay. That's what's been going on these past few years. You've seen a centralization of authority. Like all these different governments are all starting to do the same thing. They're all starting to follow the same pattern. And it started with, when, a couple years ago with the whole lockdowns. You start to see one country do it, then another country do it, then the whole world does it. And then when it comes to the certain measures they will take, one country does it, another country does it, the whole world, the rest of them do it. See? So it went from one country, this country does their own thing, this country does their own thing, to now everybody is following this like universal game plan. Okay? And that's bringing the order into one. It's centralizing it. So that's where you get the pyramid scheme, like the pyramid shape from, where the bottom is wider, but the top is smaller. But you see that when you go from the top down or from the bottom up, it all leads to one point at the top. Okay, so whatever's on top trickles down everywhere. So that's what you're seeing happening, the centralization, and that's what they want. Okay, they wanna centralize it all, and then they have just one authority at the top. But as it says here, this is what governments will do now that they are financially checkmated. They can't win, even in their own rigged game, and now are left with the choice of losing power or flipping the board. Since power does not relinquish itself voluntarily, we should presume they'll choose to flip the board. Here's the bottom line. The current monetary system is on its way out. Even the central bankers running the system can see that. So they are preparing for what comes next as they attempt to reset the system. And this is where you're going to have a whole lot of chaos, a whole lot of civil unrest, a whole lot of death. Because during this during this reset, during the collapse of this and the transition to the next, it's going to be very, very chaotic, because not only is it going to be difficult when you have a collapse or a crash of an already existing system, but what else is going to make it worse is the resistance. Okay, a lot of people today are not falling for the okie doke, the typical CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. They come and tell you this, oh yeah, you eat it up. A lot of people are not falling for that. And a lot of people are aware of what these people are trying to do, what direction they're trying to take everything in. They're aware of that. This is why it tells you in Revelation 12:12, all right, like I said, I go whatever the Spirit gives me. So the Spirit just gave me something. So real quick, and I'll come back and finish the article, but I just wanted to bring out this verse. But as it says in Revelation chapter 12:12, that they're going to come down with great wrath. This wrath is going to be heavily portioned with the sword, because it's hard to deceive people. Their eyes are already open now. People are now alert. People are aware. People use the term NWO like it's nothing. Conspiracy theories are no longer theories. So people are onto them. So when they try to come and say, oh, no, we got to do it this way, people are not going to be with that. They're going to say, no, we don't have to do it this way, right? We didn't have to do it this way, but you deliberately made sure that this would collapse and crash, so we would be left with no option. So we're not doing that. All right. And they know exactly who they're going to get mad at. That's why it tells you in the book of 2nd Ezra 15, as well as 16, but mainly in 15, it tells you that they shall not regard their kings nor princes. One people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. And they're going to be doing all of this for, so there shall be sedition among men. And they're going to be doing all this for what? For the lack of bread and for great tribulation, because it's going to get so chaotic. So this is the book of Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. And who are the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea? Us. We live on the earth. Okay? The living creatures. But why? Why woe unto us? Why woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea? Because, as it says, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath. Now, if you read this without understanding, you're thinking, oh, is the Antichrist going to come out? Is Satan himself going to come out? But the word devil simply means deceiver. And the biggest deceiver on the planet Earth are the Edomites. The ones whose face you see on the dollar bills, okay, the elites, the banking families, they are the biggest deceivers on the planet Earth. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, those that call themselves the Illuminati. And they are the devil that is speaking of over here. And they're going to come down having great wrath. Shalom, Elder Yahshua Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Barakatha. Shalom to the rest of you sincere listeners. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Barakatha. And they're going to come down having great wrath. Why? Because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So they know that, look, these people are waking up. They're waking up too fast. There's not enough time to try and lull them back to sleep. Do you know how long it took for them to gradually lull people to sleep and deceive them on this tip? And so for them to, now people are waking up For them to have to go back and do that whole process, they don't have time for that. They've already told you by 2030. They're not telling you that, hey, we by 2030 we're gonna start dishing out these MOTBs, these the grains of rice, right? Like a grain of rice. No, 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 no. By 2030, it should all be implemented. It should be done. It should be well in place. Okay, by 2030, that's their agenda. By 2030, all of this should be done. Not that we're gonna wait till 2030 before we start this. No, 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 no. So this is why they're gonna come down with great wrath, because they're running out of time. They are on a timeline, right? So coming back to the article, right, as it says, so now they're in a deadlock. Okay, do we raise interest rates and bankrupt the U.S. economy or the U.S. government? Or do we not raise interest rates and let inflation turn into hyperinflation? We're stuck. So you know what? We'll do neither. We'll just crash the whole thing. So it says here, continuing on, here's the bottom line. The current monetary system is on its way out, and it's gonna have to go out through a crash, a transition. But you can't, if a system is working perfectly fine, what's the need to transition? So it says here, even the central bankers running the system can see that. So they are preparing for what comes next as they attempt to reset the system. And through that attempt, you're going to have very chaotic time. There's going to be a lot of protests. There's going to be a lot of riots. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed in the streets, because it's not going to be an easy thing to get people to just lay down and comply with this, because people are aware. They know what's going on. They're going to get people by making them tap out, not by having people agree and say, oh, yeah, I'm with this. I mean, you will have a certain portion that are going to do that, but not everybody's going to lay down. And that's when they're going to have to force people. And that's when the chaos gets out of hand, they're going to need to bring that order. Martial law will be declared. It will happen. It says, I suspect it could all go down soon, and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to result in an enormous wealth transfer from you to the parasitical class, politicians, central bankers, and those connected to them. And that's why you have you will own nothing and be happy. Because in this somewhat capitalistic society, as they like to tell you, you can there's certain things you own, certain things you do, but when they pull the sheet, when they take this place down, they take everything with it. It's a reset. When you reset something, you starting off fresh, and they're gonna tell you, look, these are the new rules. All right. Number one, you're gonna take this grain of rice, and if you don't take it, then that's it. That's your step one. You need to take it, and you need to be ingratiated into this new society. If you want to function, this new society is built to function on the fact that you're gonna have your rice. You're gonna be a rice eater. That's what you're gonna be. Okay, and this is the reason why you have all of these other troubles coming about. All right, now let me put this article in the chat so you can have access to that. Now the second article, all right, is here it says heating your home will hurt this winter as natural gas prices climb. Now, what's interesting is you have this going on, right, with the energy and gas prices and all of these things, but at the same time, you also have food shortages. Right now, they're saying that potato shortage emerges in Idaho as prices surge at supermarkets, and just a month or so ago, you have a lot of farmers then and even now saying, look, your food prices are going to jump. All right. They're going to jump. What you're seeing right now are not the accurate prices of the food. That's not how it's going to stay. So people are starting to think, you know what, maybe inflation, I mean, I see it a little bit, but maybe it's not that bad. No, it is that bad. You just haven't seen inflation yet. All right. You're seeing the beginnings. So as they're telling you that, look, come the fall season, that's when you're going to start seeing the effects, because for every cause there's a effect. All right, it is just taking time before you see that effect. All right. So they're warning you. They're already letting you know. So now you're going to have big problems on your hands, which is food and energy. And now you're deciding, do I put food on the table, or do I warm up the house? Do we freeze to death but not starve to death? Do we starve to death but not freeze to death? What do we do? And as you're worrying about all of this, there's going to be even more problems stacked on top of that. Because as this economy gets worse, that affects your job. If you don't have a job, you're not even going to get to decide whether you're heating your house or feeding your house. You ain't doing either. And do you think that people are going to sit back, reflect on their mind and say, this guy came into office and ruined our lives. I'm here freezing with no food. My family is struggling. And this guy is out here just talking about everything is all sweet. No, 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 no. Everything is not all sweet. People are not going to, yeah, that's right. Decisions. People are not going to sit at home and just let that be. They're going to take to the streets. And this time they're going to do it with an objective. See, when you had the George Floyd protests and all of that, typically people just go out there and they, oh yeah, no justice, no peace. They do these things as a going along with the flow. In this time with these riots that are coming, food riots because you can't pay for your energy bills. These things are going to be they're going to have an objective. And the objective is, I'm going to the nearest BJ's or Sam's Club or whatever, and I'm taking what I can get my hands on. They're not going to be out here. Look, here it is. You struggling to get food, but you're going to be marching in Manhattan somewhere with signboards in your hands. Are you going to eat the signboards? No. They're not. People ain't going to be worried about TVs and jewelry and True Religion jeans and Timbs. They're going to be worried about potatoes and rice and canned goods and meat and bread and whatever they can get their hands on. All right. And you just wait. Wait till somebody is gone 2 days without eating. They get to the supermarket and they see the last loaf of bread on the shelf, and they see you reaching for it. Because what happens once people get that trigger? You have something called food hoarding. So that means that somebody's not going to go to the supermarket and say, you know what, let me be considerate. I'll take only one loaf and leave the rest. No, they're going to say, if I take one loaf, what happens when the one loaf runs out and I come back here and there's nothing left? You know what? Let me take all the loaves that are on the shelf, putting in my cart and take it home. That way I'll be okay. But what happens when you're packing up five loaves, you're taking all the bread on the shelf, and somebody pulls up looking for bread and they see your cart full of all of it? And they telling you, my man, because people have, when it comes to food, people have very, very, very little tolerance, right? That's where you get that commercial, the Snickers commercial, you're not you when you're hungry. And then you'll see the person is raging, they're like transforming into this beast, and then they feed them the Snickers bar and then they come back to regular. It's based on a real thing, which is you're not your normal self. You don't rationally think when you're hungry, when you're starving, when you're hangry. So you're going to have a lot of hangry people in the aisles looking for food to buy before they start just taking it and running out the stores. But what are you going to see? A lot of fights. Why am I looking for I don't know, bread, and there's none on the shelves? And then I go to the register and there's this old Edomite dude with like 20 loaves of bread inside of his cart. And I'm like, yo, my man, you took all the bread on the shelf. Yeah, well, early bird gets the worm. Early bird gets the worm. Yo, man. So it's not gonna be looking too good. All right. It's not gonna be looking too good. But anyway, let's read a little bit of this article. Basically they're going into like the heating, and they're saying that there's an upward trend in the cost, all right, to use natural gas to heat up your homes. And during the winter, a lot of businesses, buildings, stores, they use heaters. Okay, whatever apartment you're in, typically some apartments will have like a natural built-in heater, and then people will also have their own personal heater that they might buy. When you go into a certain store, the reason you don't freeze when you go to the mall in the wintertime is because they have heaters on, and they have a lot, right? These big giant malls, and it won't be long before they start doing what they're doing over there in Spain. They're telling them, look, your air condition cannot be above this temperature or below this temperature. All right, in the summer or in the winter, your lights have to be off after 10. So you guys, all the stores within this region, you gotta find a system between yourselves, because when only one can be open at this time, then another can be open at this time. So y'all got to figure it out between each other, because that's how hard they're getting hit with the energy shortage. So there's no way you can sit and look at what's happening in the world and pay attention to what's going on in the news and think that everything is going to be okay. What you're seeing is the beginning of sorrows, the beginning of trouble. So there's no way that this is going to be okay. The trouble hasn't even hit yet. So the best thing to do is to prepare your mind. If you walk around with the mindset that, well, it's going to happen, I can't do anything about it, so I'll just leave it at that, you're going to end up in trouble. You're going to end up in big trouble. Okay? You're going to end up in big trouble, because you are right. It is going to happen regardless. But if you do not have knowledge of what is going to happen, how it's going to happen, what you can do ahead of time, then when it happens, you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught off guard. Do you think that when there's a famine, you're the only one that's thinking, let me run to the store and grab things? Everybody else has the same idea. And then you might end up at a store, and you might end up like Mufasa when he fell from when Scar threw him off, and the stampede of the herd just came and run his ass over, because that's what people are going to be doing. They're going to be running into the stores, pushing people, shoving people, grabbing whatever they can. That's not going to be a good time for you to try and go and get into that store. So if you know ahead of time, you can prepare ahead of time. You know what? All right. These are certain things that maybe it would be a good idea. Maybe I can get a little bit extra of this. I can maybe put some of this to the side. And this ain't gonna save me, but it'll save me the trouble of having to be out there while everybody is out there trying to do the same thing. So you have to be proactive. Proactive, as they say, prevention is better than cure. Well, in this situation, the cure is the prevention, or the prevention is the cure. So it says, it will take more than an extra sweater to stay warm this winter. Anyone heating with natural gas will require extra money to burn the furnace. Natural gas is sharply higher than it was last year. This week, natural gas was $8.20, and MCF. See that? MCF. It's natural gas. What does this mean? There we go. MCF, the volume of 1,000 cubic feet. Well, I am not an expert in this, so you're gonna hear me say MCF, and just same way you don't understand what it is, unless you do. I don't either. But we're gonna get the base concept of what the article is given, and we're gonna go with that. So it says the volume of 1,000 cubic feet. So I'm guessing the CF in there stands for cubic feet. It says this is the price paid to gas producers set by Henry Hub. It is the highest price in 14 years. Let me and you're starting to hear that a lot, right? That trend of things being the highest in such and such, the highest in such and such. Yeah, because it's getting ready to hit record levels. Yeah, that's right. The brother Manatazak 144K, those cartoon characters that are starving, and look at their friend and picture them as meat. Yeah, and that's guess what? That they don't just make those things up. And then they put it in cartoon form, right? And then they do that, but it's real. How do you think cannibalism takes place? People live, their brain will start to say, you know what? Meat is meat, right? I mean, if you cook it right, you should be able to. That's what. How do you think people end up eating each other? And that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's cannibalism is part of the prophecy. When you have famines and people don't have access to food, eventually they get to the point where they're going to say, well, I'm not going to sit here and starve to death. Right? In the scriptures, there's a story of the two mothers who agreed that they would eat the child of one of them on one day, and then the next day they would eat the child of the other one. And so they boiled one of the mother's child, or her, yeah, they boiled her child and they ate her. And then when the next time came, the other one hit her child and said, "No, you crazy as hell. I'm not cooking my child. You crazy?" Now you need to think about that, right? How I mean, how do you do that to your own child? In order to eat your child, you need to kill your child. You got to put your child to death. That's murder. And then you need to cook your child. What you're not going to be in your right mind. For you to be aware that, you know what, I have this child that I bear for 9 months that's going to came from between my legs, that I have breastfed and nurtured and taken care of. But now I'm so hungry that this same very child that's looking to me to feed them, I'm looking like, no, you're going to need to feed me. I'm plotting on how I'm going to kill my own child because I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry, it doesn't sound that bad. Do you see how bad things are going to get? I mean, how bad does it have to get for a parent to kill their own children and eat them? How bad does it have to get for people to go, like they show you in the movie The Road, to go hunting for another person and then kill them and eat them? That's another human being. So cannibalism is not a light thing, and yet that's what's going to be happening because of how bad things are going to be. Oh yeah, they're going to turn into monsters. Let's see. All right, so I'm just going to read, like, just a little bit in here, not really too much. So it says here, because of what's going on globally and because of the policies in certain areas, producers are not able to produce as much gas, and it drives the price up. Now you have to ask yourself, what's going on globally? Did these things just up and happen? No. There are people that have authority on a global level and they pull strings from both sides to cause these global events to take place. The whole situation with Russia and Ukraine, there are people pulling strings on both sides to cause the outcome to turn out a certain way. Why do you think one day they'll agree to have peace talks and then another day they'll say, no, it's not going to happen? Because the goal is not for them to have peace. Those that are in control, the elites on the top who are pulling the strings, their goal is not for peace. Peace does not work in their best interest, at least not right now. Think about it. If you are one of these rich banking families, right? And a part of your agenda is, well, I want a reset. I want to change the economic system, right? I want to change the way the world is right now into a one world order. In order to do that, you can't just come to somebody and come to the world and tell them, hey, I have this bright idea. I want to put CHIP, right, inside of your body, and I can monitor everything you do from there. Isn't that a great idea? Who do you think is going to sit there and look and say, wow, you're a genius. Yeah, here's my hand. Go ahead. No, it doesn't work that way. So these elites say, well, the only way to get somebody to do something as crazy as that is by putting them in a desperate position. So desperate and so chaotic and so painful that they'll be willing to do what I say if I tell them that I can help them from that desperate situation. But the only problem is this desperate situation doesn't just happen on its own. So now they have to say, well, I need to create this desperate situation. That's like if you tell somebody, hey man, I don't know, I have this plan and I need you to invest some money in here. I need you to sponsor me. And then they tell you, no, I'm not interested in that. And you say, okay, cool. And so you end up poisoning their food. And then you come again and tell them, hey, I got the antidote that's going to cure you. And you're running out of time. If you don't take this antidote, you're going to die of that food poisoning. Now they say, okay, can I please have the antidote? You say, well, you need to invest in my business. So now that they're in a position where they need you, they're so desperate, they're not going to say no because you have something they need. But the only reason you have something they need is because you're the same one who caused the problem for them. You the one, the poison didn't just end up in their food. You had to poison their food to put them in a position where they would come to you for the antidote. In a nutshell, that's what these people are doing. Okay, they're poisoning your food by causing this rift between Russia and Ukraine. They're poisoning your food by, they knew throwing sanctions on Russia would lead to an energy crisis. They knew all of these things. That's why that's the route they went with. The goal was never to stop inflation. If that was the goal, they would have checked inflation years ago. Instead of telling you that, no, it's transitory. They knew it wasn't transitory. But they had to tell you that so that they can allow it to get worse, because the worse it gets, the more desperate you get. The more desperate you get, the better it is for them. Because when you're desperate, then you're willing to listen. You're willing to take on the ideas that they brought to you before that you weren't willing to do. So that's how they move. Okay, that's how they move. So as it says here, because of what's going on globally and because of the policies in certain areas, producers are not able to produce as much gas, and it drives up the price. What does that mean? That means that consumers are going to suffer. And when consumers suffer, then they're willing to listen, because people don't like to suffer. All right, so that's what they're doing. And it's good that it's better you understand that, but people don't care. They go about, they think that everything is going to be all right. There's a lot of people that do not even know half of the things that are going on in the world. People, my brother was showing me a video, and man, you will not believe it. You have average individuals that are walking about, and simple, basic questions they can't answer. There's a guy, he's recording on YouTube, and he stops like random people, and he just asks them basic questions. He said, "What's 3 times 3 times 3?" 3 times 3 times 3. Yeah, that's 9. Or he'll ask, how many continents are there? How many people are on the planet Earth? If you had to just give an estimate, what country is Mount Rushmore on? Oh yeah, that's Russia. What? and you have people that are going. You got people that are going about, and they can't look. They walk around like regular people, but if you talk to them, you can't have a regular conversation with them. They don't utilize their brain. They just go about. Now, if you ask them questions about, and he did that. He said, "Can you name the Kardashians?" Oh, she was on it. Khloe Kardashian, Kim Kardashian, what other ones? Kourtney Kardashian, all these. But you ask her a basic question, she's sitting there talking about some, damn, I should know this. Man, I mean, this place, and this is why these elites are able to pull these things on you. This is why they can come and lock you down for 2 years and turn around and tell you, oh yeah, that wasn't necessary. We lied about all that. Because they know that people are not going to stop and use their brains and ask questions and say, hold on, this doesn't make sense. They're just going to follow along. It's a scary world, man. It's a scary world, and it's scary because of what a low condition or look what a low mental condition people are on. Yeah, that's right, Hegelian dialectic. Yep. And they've studied the people long enough, and they've used subversion tactics to corrupt the minds of the people, to break up the nuclear family, to get the fathers out the house, to have the mothers raising their children. They've turned mothers from mothers into just women with babies. Women just have kids so they can claim them and make money. A lot of women that walk around with kids today are not mothers. They're just women with babies. And that's why you see the corruption that you see today. It didn't just happen randomly. It was slowly promoted in the music, in the media, in the influence. And eventually, this is the product. Anyway, potato shortage emerges in Idaho as prices surge at supermarkets. It says the next food insecurity problem that may impact the way Americans eat could be an emerging potato shortage that began last year when yields were depressed due to a heat wave, according to Boise State Public Radio. And these are just one aspect of it, because you also have the natural disasters. You have droughts that are going on. Droughts in Ghana, they're saying it's not raining. Europe, and that's all a part of prophecy as well. It says, I'm not sure if you remember last June, but we had some just unbelievably hot temperatures here in Idaho. It did a number on our potato crop. James Hyam, president and CEO of the Idaho Potato Commission, told the Idaho-based media outlet. And so our yields were significantly down last year. Boise State Public Radio pointed out that last year potato crop cycle should last through August, though the lack of the starchy vegetable has already presented consumers with higher prices at the supermarket. And just like what's going on in the UK, they're seeing that as inflation prices are going up, their income is not being raised to match that. So they're falling behind and they're starting to feel the pain. I don't think I put this article in the chat yet, so let me go ahead and drop this here. There you go. And the last one here that I have is also dealing with inflation. All right, it says here, U.S. Postal Service implementing temporary price hikes for the holiday season, which is not going to be much holidaying this season. All right, it doesn't look like that. Not with the election coming up as well. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the end of the year plays out, with all of these calamities that are going on, looking to get much worse. It says not even the U.S. Postal Service is immune to the effects of inflation. The consistently underfunded, mismanaged government-run service filed a notice of a temporary price hike. Now, do not be fooled twice. Do not be fooled twice. You've seen this word temporary before. This is a tactic they use called damage control. Damage control is when you know how bad the situation actually is, but you don't tell the public that exactly how bad it is because you don't want them to panic. So you use terms and you sugarcoat and you cushion what is actually going on so that the people do not panic and they don't bug out until it gets to the point where it's too much, and then you slowly start to let them on to what's going on. The problem with this is by the time it's like if you instead of telling somebody they have cancer, you tell them, no, you're just at a high risk of getting cancer. So they don't panic. Now, if they have a terminal illness and they have only a few months left to live, and it starts to get so bad that you cannot hide the fact that they actually have cancer, well, by the time you tell them, oh yeah, you have cancer, they're already running out of time to live. That's the problem. When you use damage control, by the time people find out what's really going on, it's much worse than it was. So it says here, they filed a notice of a temporary price hike. This temporary word is used to calm people's nerves so people don't lose it. So even if it's something bad, you say it's temporary, they'll say, you know what, it's bad, but at least it's not forever. That's the problem. What happened when they started the lockdowns? What did they say? Oh, let's start with 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks. Do you think that they actually thought that they were only going to need to do it for 2 weeks? Absolutely not. They came out themselves and said it. They said, no, we knew this was going to go longer than 2 weeks. But I mean, if we told people, hey, we're going to lock you down for 2 years, how do you think they would react to that? They would lose it. So you tell them 2 weeks. And then when the 2 weeks comes, you extend it to another 2 weeks. It's called gradualism. Slowly but surely. And then you extend it to another 2 weeks. So they keep looking forward to this 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And the 2 weeks never comes. And then before you know it, it's been 6 months. It's been 12 months. It's been 13 months, 16 months. And the 2 weeks still never came. You tell somebody something is temporary. Temporary could be a long time. So when they tell you that, don't fall for it. Oh, and the inflation is temporary inflation. It's going to go up, like Biden said, right? It's going to go up and it's going to come right back down. Oh, man. So it says here, filed a notice for a temporary price hike for this year's holiday season. we'd be willing to bet whatever we can to get our hands on that temporary hike. Very sluggish. We'd be willing to bet whatever we can or we can get our hands on that this temporary hike very quickly becomes a permanent hike. Exactly. That's what they do. If something is permanent, no. Tell them it's temporary for like a couple of months and then tell them that it became permanent. Bro, it's always been permanent from the start. But once again, it's a tactic they use. They're constantly playing mind games on people. They're priming people. You have to, if you are not aware of what's going on, then it's likely that you are a product of what is going on. You're caught up in it. That's why you can't see it. All right. They prime you. They condition your mind. Do we remember what happened when Trayvon Martin first got shot by what's his guy? Something Zimmerman, George Zimmerman. And I mean, it was just, oh my gosh, what, he just shot white guy shot a black guy. Oh, big deal. And then you had what's this guy's name? Eric Garner. Then you had a few other situations like that. I can't breathe. They choked this man. Oh my gosh, all this uproar. Now people are getting shot left and right. They're getting mowed down like it's like every other day, and it's not as big of an uproar. Why is it not as big of an uproar as it was when Trayvon Martin got shot? Because they conditioned your mind. The more you get exposed to something, the less awe it is, the less crazy it sounds. The more you hear something, the less crazy it sounds. And that's why they have this saying. They say, if you tell a big enough lie, I forgot how they said. They said, tell a big enough lie, enough amount of time, something along those lines, and people will believe it to be true. If you consistently tell somebody something, consistently tell them something, it could be a lie. It could be very wrong. But if you keep on drilling it into their minds, eventually that becomes truth. Or at least it becomes their truth. Let's see. It says here, the Postal Service said the hikes were approved by its Board of Governors and are now pending review by the Postal Regulatory Commission. So now, on top of food prices, energy prices, food shortages, energy shortages, you have some more damage that inflation is doing. And now you're starting to see that, man, inflation it touches everything. This isn't just like a one thing. No, everything that has a price tag on it gets affected. It says the adjustment is similar to past years, the agency said. Sure, except CPI wasn't coming in at 8.5% at any point in past years. The agency claims it will help it remain competitive during the holiday season. And that's one thing they do as well. They'll like to compare now to something that has happened before to calm people down. Like, oh, this is nothing new. Like, it's not like this is the first time something like this has happened. That's what they did with the what? The damn, what's the jump shot, right? They tell, no, you acting like this the only jump shot that we've invented. There's the flu shot, there's all these other shots out here. This is just another one of those. Come on, you acting like you've never taken a shot before. And they do that so you sit down and you say, well, I mean, I guess you do have a point. No, you don't have a point. This is different. This is different. But yeah, let me put this article also in the chat. You can get access to this. And yeah, like I said, that's pretty much it on the articles. Let me see. A couple brothers put some precepts in here. Yep. Malak Manatazak. There was a video out in Canada where people were walking by and there was a pyramid with an eye and they had facial and hand recognition. Jake said it was randomly sitting there. Yeah. And you know why they're doing that? Now, this years ago, you tell somebody about that, a pyramid with an eye, they'll say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. And now the things that you were called a conspiracy theorist for saying, the governments themselves are bringing out openly and telling you, oh, by the way, this is what we're doing. And you know what that is? Conditioning, priming. Because what they're doing is they're lessening the blow. If they can come out and show you what it is that these quote unquote conspiracy theorists are saying, Then when they come out and do it, and somebody tells you, yo, look, this is what they're doing, it's not a big deal anymore because they've already exposed it themselves. You know? Let's see. Was it tell a lie? There we go. I think this is it. Tell a lie, make it big, say it often, eventually they'll believe it. Yep. And that's what they do. All right, that's what they do, and people fall for it. All right. This is Zechariah Allah, remnant seeker Ba, 2nd Esdras 2 and 13. Go and ye shall receive. Pray for a few days unto you that they may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch. And that's the last thing I'm going to say, which is we do have to pray for a few days. We do have to pray for the Lord to shorten the days and send his son back, send the Messiah back to come and deliver us, because there's no way we're going to be able to survive this. All right. We don't plan on complying. We don't plan on taking this CHIP and falling for whatever laws and rules they put in place, because these are going to be draconian measures. These are going to be unreasonable measures. If you don't let us put this inside of you, we're going to throw you in jail. We're going to call you a terrorist. We're going to say you're an enemy of the state. We're going to say that you're evil. I'm evil because I don't want to let you put a device inside my body. So they're going to make it almost impossible for you to survive if you don't comply. So how are we supposed to survive? But that's why we have faith that the Lord is going to intervene. When you read in the scriptures, whenever people were put in a difficult situation where they couldn't do anything about it, that's when miracles happen to deliver them. So long as you are standing firm for the cause on behalf of the Most High, He's going to deliver you. All right, and that's the faith that we have. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's definitely not. It's going to be a hard time. It's going to be destructive. It's going to be scary. It's going to be chaotic. But the scriptures say that Revelation 3 and 10, if you keep the word of the Lord's patience, if you serve the Lord, if you have faith in Him and you trust in Him, and ultimately if you're of His elect, then you're going to be delivered. You're going to be fine. All right. So let me finish this off here. Oh, that's right. It said Khan, just last year people were laughing at us for talking about the CHIP, and this year it's being talked about on the news. Exactly. And yet those people will never come back and say, oh wow, look, this is actually no. They'll just act like, oh yeah, it's just regular. Oh yeah, okay. Well, just know that if you take that CHIP, according to Revelation chapter 14 and 9, you're going to be destroyed. And according to Revelation chapter 16, that CHIP is gonna cause cancerous sores. It's gonna cause it's gonna plague people, because that man and machine were not made to merge. Okay, man and machine are not meant to merge, and that's what they're trying to do. And it's good. That thing is gonna have a negative effect on people. So I'm gonna finish it off with this. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 22. It says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. And the elect are the true believers, those that are going to stand firm and call upon Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua and believe upon the Lord all the way up, even if it means death. And so because of their sake, the Lord is going to shorten the days so that they can be delivered. All right. So with that, Lord willing, you are edified. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.